Hi, welcome back. For this session, we're going to be discussing the functionality of the indicators option located in the middle of the toolbar right here. So, this indicators option is one of the most important options of all the selections you have in the toolbar for the fact that you need to go into this option to pull out the data to create a map. So, let's go ahead and get started so I can go ahead and explain that a little further. So when you select the indicators option, it gives you two selections. One is add/remove indicators, and the other one's about indicators. Let's start with add remove indicators. So the add remove indicators is very important because this is where you go to pull data to map. So go ahead and select it and you'll see that a new window pops up. It gives you four primary tabs to select from. There's a fifth tab, but it's currently unavailable, this web tab. And once it becomes available, we will go ahead and upload a new tutorial to explain the functionality of this option. So heat maps and shapes are the primary two areas you want to go to pull out data to map. As you can see, each of these tabs has a variety of different categories to select from. The difference between heat maps and shapes is that heat maps are raster maps, or maps created of pixels, and shapes are vector maps, which are maps created of points, polygons, and lines. So this might sound a little confusing, so I'm going to go ahead and show the difference between both because they're quite distinct. So first off, let's go shapes. So if I wanted to select a category, let's say housing, and you want to see the data within that category, you go ahead and you click the plus, and it will pull down a list of data points that are available under that category. So as you can see, we have a variety of options, but we have primarily two different types of selection boxes. As you can tell, we have a box and we have a circle. These circles are radial circles. What it does, it prevents you from selecting more than one at a time. So I cannot select foreclosure data point here and % change in median home value at the same time. Whereas this box is a checkbox, and it allows you to select as many of the checkboxes available as you want. So let's show an example of this. So if I select % change median home value, as you can see, the data pulls up in the background in my display map, and it also pops up in my table of contents here that shows a kind of an understanding of what the colors represent within the map. If I wanted to select another radial map or radial point, as you can see, it turned off my original point and went ahead and just pulled up the new one that I just selected. So on the other hand, if I want to select the checkbox, I can select the checkbox, and this one is a location of publicly subsidized affordable housing, and it's points, meaning it's specific points. If I roll or scroll over it, it'll give me, for example, the name of the affordable housing unit and how many units are within it. So if we wanted to pull up, for example, another category and see it has checkboxes, I can select as many checkboxes as I want because they'll start layering on top of each other. So that's the difference between the radial circles and the checkboxes. So once I have, let's go ahead and turn off the checkboxes, and once I have a data point available, let's go back to my % change in median home value. So we have this available, and as you can see, it's in my table of contents, and there's two ways of turning this map off. So if I no longer want this map in my data map, and my display map here, I can either select this none, and each category has a none radial circle, and that will turn it off, and you can see it removed it from my indicators area of my table of contents. If I turn it off, if I turn it back on again, you can see the other option to turn it to remove this from my table of contents is just to select this X here in my indicators window of the table of contents area. As you can see, it turned it off. So that's the shapes. As you can see, the shape itself, this type of vector map, as you can see, it's pretty distinct. So now if we want to look at what a raster map looks like, and say we want to look at housing again, we go ahead and say let's select renters, and you can see it's pixelated. It's very focused on a certain point, and each color represents, and it creates a heat map. So the darker it is, the more dense it is. So you can see where the density of renters are located within the Portland metro region. The interesting thing about heat maps, it allows you to use your analysis units area here located at the top of your table of contents. And what this does is it will allow a thin layer that goes on top of this map to kind of show where the hotspots are in specific analysis units. And right now the analysis unit we have highlighted is neighborhoods. So if I go ahead and turn this one on, as you can see, it creates a neighborhood layer that goes on top, and you can scroll over to see which neighborhoods are kind of the darkest. So this one right here, this Sullivan's Gulch, tends to be fairly dark within this map. Same with Goose Hollow, so it shows that it has high density of renters per acre. So say if you do not like neighborhoods, and you can tell the neighborhoods layer on top only goes to a certain extent because outside these boundaries they don't have defined neighborhoods. So if I want to select a new neighborhood or a new analysis unit, say if I don't want to use neighborhoods no longer, this is where the next tab comes along. So the analysis units tab gives you 3 other options besides neighborhoods to select from to analyze. So you have cities, counties, and 2010 census tracts. 2010 census tracts, we put 2010 because it's different than 2000 census tracts. From the 2000 census, there were different units of analysis for tracts than there were in 2010. The boundaries change over time. So that's why we're using 2010 in this instance. So if we want to say we want to use 2010, let's go ahead and click this. The tool itself will go ahead and reanalyze everything and put it into 2010 census tract boundaries. So once it's recalculated, it will then put into the analysis units area in the table of contents like it just did right now. And I'm going to go ahead and close this window. And as you can see, it's no longer in neighborhoods. And when I scroll over each boundary, it gives me the census tract number for each boundary rather than the neighborhood where it was before. And this is because we're using census tracts rather than neighborhoods as our analysis units. So this can be useful if you would like to see where specific hotspots are for specific analysis units. So again, we have cities, counties, census tracts, and we have neighborhoods. So let's go ahead and open our window back up again. And say, again, for heat maps, this is not something that you need to use. You can turn it off if you like or turn it back on. So let's go ahead and turn it off for now. That's what analysis units tab was for. And now let's go to the reference layers. So what the reference layers does, it gives you more options to put on your map. So things that aren't just data points that we've collected, it could be specific reference points to help you identify different areas on the maps. So currently we have one map layer turned on. Currently it's our Oregon Metro base map is turned on. So if I turn off our turn off our raster there. What the base map is this background map that's currently on. So if I turn this off, as you can see, it disappears. And in order to turn it back on, here located at the top, I go ahead and I click this guy. And what this opacity does is if I want to lighten it, if I want to darken it, this is what this scroll bar does. So this is the background base map. The next option you have here is an aerial photo. So if you go ahead and click the aerial photo, it will give you basically a picture of what certain areas within the Portland metro area. So let's go ahead and turn on our data point again, so our renters, and let's turn off this here, and let's turn on our analysis units. And then let's go ahead and turn on our aerial photo. And as you can see, you can't see the aerial photo because it's hidden behind. So what you can do is if you right-click on the aerial photo, because once you turn on these boxes here, it'll go into your map layers little section of your table of contents. If you right-click any of these, it gives you some options. And what I want to do is say bring to front. And by clicking that, it will bring my aerial photo in front of all the data. Now what I can do is I can scroll over my aerial photo here, and it will, because of the unit, the 2010 census tract analysis units are set up behind it, it will give me what census tract number I'm scrolling over at that point in time. So if I'm looking at this area, it will give me this census tract, for example. So it's this kind of cool thing if you want to see exactly what census tracts are located where in a very kind of precise aerial photo. So let's turn this aerial photo off, and as you can see, it went back to our original map that we have. And so this last one is it's called the RLIS thematic map data. So this is all themed data that will help you identify different points on the map. So I'm going to turn off our analysis units here to give you a better idea of what this can do. So say we want to find, and well, if you scroll down, for example, you can see the different themes that you have to select from. You have from watersheds to streets to max lines to light rail to freeway to bus stops. You have boundaries of cities. You have quite a few selections to choose from that will help you identify things on this map. And by selecting these will basically become outlined on the map. We have school districts, metro district boundary, so forth. So say, for example, we want to highlight where the freeways are, because right now you can see on the base map there are some freeways, but they're very hard to see. And say if we want to make those freeways more pronounced, we go ahead and the first thing we do is we turn on our thematic map. We want to make sure that's on. So once we turn on our thematic map, we can see that it's located in our map layers here. Now we look for our freeways, and there it is. But as you can tell, freeways is a subunit of transportation. So in order for this to turn on, you need to first turn on freeways. As you see, when I turn on freeways, nothing happened. It's because you also have to make sure its parent data source is also turned on, which is transportation. So if I select transportation and freeways, we can see it turned on in our map layers area, and it popped up here in our map. And you can see now that the freeways are really pronounced, and it will allow a user to get a better idea of where exactly these data points are located and how it is compared to certain other points on the map, like freeways. So if you want to see how renter density looks compared to school district boundaries or watershed or anything anything you want to look at in terms of themes, this thematic map layer will allow you to do such thing. And that is our last tab in this one section of the indicators option that is located in the tab at the Add Remove Indicators area. The second option that you have within the indicators tab is About Indicators. And this is fairly simple. About Indicators, once you select this, it will take you to the CLF website, and it will give you more information about the data that you're looking at. For example, we are currently looking at renters density per acre. So if you go ahead and you select About Indicators, it will take you to the CLF website, where you can then scroll through all the different types of data points that we have listed, and then once you find renter density per acre, it will give you all the data that you need to know, all the background information that you need to know about that data. So for example, if you want to know where it came from, what it's measuring in particular, what year it came from, and so forth, this, by clicking About Indicators, will take you to the page that will give you all that necessary information about each data point that you use for your maps. So that is it for this session about the Indicators tab. Upcoming session we'll be talking about other options within the toolbar itself. Until then, bye-bye.